Hi guys, this is Nadia from Ibali Crafts, and today I want to show you how to create this gallery setting with wire in a pendant. Don't forget to subscribe because I upload new material all the time. Also, if you like this tutorial and share your version on social media, it would be absolutely awesome if you could give my channel a mention because it really helps me grow my audience. Alright, so let's get started. So we're going to start by taking a piece of wire and we're going to create the gallery setting by bending the prongs. So what we need to do is leave roughly about a 10-15 centimeter tail to one side and bend the wire in on itself. So what I'm doing here is I am squishing the tail together, and I am then going to double check against the stone to see if the prong is actually the right size. So what we need to do is make sure that the prong sits just over the bend or the sort of rounded surface of the stone, and we are then going to continue with shaping the prongs themselves. So what I do here is I grab onto the prong a little bit further down and I bend it in on itself. If you find it more comfortable, you can use a round nose plier to create an even gap in between each prong, or you can just kind of wing it like I do here. You eventually get used to creating the gallery setting, so the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. So create the second prong and you kind of control it. You can roll the wire down a little bit to make them the same length, and that's roughly what it looks like. So obviously you need to have enough of the prongs like shown here to go around the stone, but the last two prongs mustn't actually touch, so there must be enough of a gap in between the last two prongs because that will then represent the round part that we don't have. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm just bending this around the stone and you'll see that I've got a bit of a gap here, and that's just right because we're going to attach these wires together at the bottom. So next, if you have round wire and not square wire, you can make your own square wire and just hammer the prongs ever so slightly, and that will flatten them out and give you the same sort of look as if you had used square wire. So that works quite well and also gives it a lot more strength and integrity. So I'm going to straighten these out a bit. When you hammer them, they kind of distort a little bit, so you kind of fix them up a bit, zooming in. So this is what the whole thing looks like. So once we've done that, I'm going to bend one of the legs slightly upwards so I can grab hold of it with my flat nose pliers. You don't have to use that if you don't have it, but that works. So I'm grabbing a second flat nose plier and I'm slightly bending the tip of the prong inwards, and then I'm moving along from each prong and repeat that process. And all the while when I do this, I try to make sure that the prongs are bent exactly at the same sort of length, and this will make sure that everything looks precise when you're putting the setting around the stone. So just keep going. That's the last one, and this is what it looks like so far. And then you can come back in and kind of bend the bottom as well a little bit. So just kind of shape it to accommodate the shape of the stone. You want the curve to sit around the base of the stone. This is not so important when you have tiny stones, but it's quite important when you have larger stones, anything from 1 centimeter upwards. So that's what it looks like. Zoom in a bit. So what we're going to do next is wrap this around the stone. So I'm bending the legs, as I call them, slightly backwards because that's the direction I want them to go in this instance. and I'm shaping this gallery setting to accommodate the stone. Just trying to get this thing to zoom in is quite a mission sometimes, and I'm sometimes out of shots. I apologize for that. Sometimes difficult to control when the camera is in the way. I can't really see. So I'm shaping this now to fit around the stone. And that should work. So it's a tiny bit fiddly at this stage, obviously, because nothing holds it tight yet. So this is what it looks like. You can see the gap we left at the end is perfect, so that works well for that. So next we need to bring in our weaving wire, and we're going to wrap around the legs. So I'm starting with the top leg here, and I'm wrapping it around once or twice, and then I'm going to go around the second leg. So it's basically like a figure of 8. So I'm wrapping around the second leg and repeat that. So twice around each leg before crossing over to the opposing leg, twice around the opposing leg, and then twice around the opposing leg. Should have said top and bottom, not to confuse things, but I'm sure you get what I'm saying. So we just repeat this process until you have got enough of a length to span the back of the cabochon, because that's kind of like a backing. So we're going to fit this in. It's kind of like a press fit a little bit. And it's quite flimsy at this stage, so I just do a couple of wraps to secure the legs together. And as always, tighten up with your pair of pliers. You can push it together and then continue the weave. So again, it's twice around one leg, then cross over, twice around the other leg, and then repeat. So super simple. Continue, and once you have spanned the back of the cabochon, we're going to fold this back in. And what we're going to do with the weaving wire, we're going to take it and wrap it around one of the prongs, and that will bind the 2 legs to the frame. And the next step is to create a figure of 8 weave around each prong as we work around the cabochon. So all we're going to do is come from underneath, let's say, wrap it around the prong. Then we are coming from over the top, wrap it around the prong. Then we come back, go from behind, wrap it around the prong, and then we're going to repeat this process until we have gone around the cab. And I've done this about 5 times, depending on the size of the stone. Obviously you need to do this 5 times or 6 times. It depends also how you want it to look. So I've done this about 5 times. I think I can't really see here. And you can see it actually looks quite pretty. I really like the way the weave looks. It's like a basket weave almost. So that's what you would get in sort of wicker baskets. So once we get back up to the top, we can reuse that wire to create the bail. So that's what it looks like. And now we're shaping this, the 2 wires that we had from the legs. We're going to shape this into sort of a navette shape, and this will be the bail. So you shape it and then take the 2 legs and bend them at an angle so that they meet up roughly at a 90-degree angle. So bend it up and make sure that both sides are symmetrical. And then what we're going to do is just a very simple figure of 8. So it's twice around one leg, cross over, twice around the other leg, and then we come back, twice around the bottom leg, twice around the top leg, and then we repeat this. So just take your time. It's much easier at this stage to do this weave than when you get to halfway. I'll show you what to do then, because it can be a bit tricky. So continue. So when you get halfway, as you can see, the wire comes back to a point, which means that your weaves will slip. So what you need to do is make sure that you hold your weave in place when you go to the opposing end. So put your finger over it, or that's what I do at least. It's quite easy if you do that. Put your finger over the opposing weave and then create your wraps before moving across the other side, and always use your fingers to hold the weave in place, and then continue until you get to the top, and that's what it looks like. So next we're going to shape the bale. So fold it back in on itself, and should be quite easy because it's just a very simple bale. And we're going to use the legs, so fold them forward, and then we're going to wrap the one leg around all of these wires and the bale. I'm going to do with the other side, same with the other side. So wrap it around, and just take your time with that. The neater the better. And that's what it looks like so far. And that's actually the whole pendant done. We're just going to trim off those wires now, with the base wires. So we trim off the base wires, and just make sure you leave enough of a length so that you can actually tuck these wires in on themselves. I'll usually roll them in slightly so that there's no opportunity for them to snag on anything. Roll them in, and then I'm going to tuck them away with my pair of pliers. Like so. And just whichever way. This is obviously the back of the pendant. You still want to make it as neat as possible. And that's what it looks like so far. So we're going to keep the 0.4. We're going to use that to add a little bit of detail to that. And that's what it looks like. So basically that's it. So all you need to do is reattach or attach the weaving wire to the frame, and that's that done. So that's the whole pendant. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. So don't forget to subscribe, and why not pop over to my social media. I've got Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Would be absolutely awesome to see you there. And as well, why not visit our little Facebook group? It's a community for artists, and we always have some fun projects going, so it would be absolutely awesome to see you on there as well. So come and join us. And lastly, I've got all sorts of brand new tutorials on my website listed that you can purchase if you like something a bit more complex. And that's that. So thank you so much for watching.